¿Qué tal, señores? Bienvenidos una vez más. Vamos a ver uno aquí de It's Complicated Channel. Hace mucho que no veamos uno de este vato. Vamos a ver. Vamos a seguir, vamos a seguir, vamos a seguir.
Do you think a man is less of a man if he can't change a flat tire?
I do think so. Me and my roommates talk about it all the time, and that's one of the qualities we look for in a man, just to know that we can be safe and protected with them.
Okay.
Is a woman less of a woman if she can't cook a meal from scratch?
No,
Why is there a difference?
because I don't know how to cook a meal from scratch. So,
What if a man doesn't know how to change a tire?
well, I guess it's okay, but if a man wants a woman who can cook, then they shouldn't date me.
Ah. Entonces podemos decir lo mismo, ¿no? Qué morras tan mal, güey. No puedo creerlo, güey. O sea, si tú no sabes cambiar una llanta de carro, no deberías salir con ella. Vamos a decir lo mismo, ¿no? Pero cállate. Si tú dices lo mismo, ahí te encargo. Si una morra no sabe cocinar, pues no debería salir conmigo. Imagínate que tú digas eso, güey. Oh, cállate, güey. No quiero ni pensar lo que te harían.
What is a woman?
What is a woman? I think it's someone that is born female.
Someone who was born with female parts.
To me, a woman is somebody that is beautiful inside and out, empowered, and inspires positive change in the world around her.
If a woman is an adult human female, why wouldn't an adult human male be the definition of a man?
Who says it's not a definition of a man?
That is the definition of a man, right? Like,
What is the difference between a male and a man?
a male is someone who was born with male parts.
Male is male is male is male. But to me, a man is somebody that is a protector, a provider, and makes you want to be that feminine woman for them.
A man is really someone who's like a developed masculine man who is like born and like developed and grown in society like as a man.
Well, why are there more burdens placed on a man to begin with?
Because that's how God designed us.
I come from a religious standpoint on it, so I think that girls are more emotional, right? So our role is to nurture and be there, while men are supposed to be the providers and work.
I think that depends on who you talk to, because you could say that there's burdens placed on women also.
What does masculinity look like if you're not religious, traditional, or conservative?
I feel that, like if you're chivalrous, if you are a problem solver. For me as a woman, sometimes if I get overwhelmed, I just want my man to take over and be like, oh, thank God you helped me. Or if I,
Pues siempre
I
lo
feel-
hacemos, güey. O sea, eso es lo normal para un hombre. Ayudarle a su mujer. Eso ni siquiera lo tienes que pedir, morra. O sea, ellas piden cosas como si los hombres no se las dieran. Claro, se acostumbran al bad boy, al chat, y ahí sí le dicen, oh, pues es que todos los hombres son iguales. No, pues los hombres que tú escoges, lady. Dice, quiero un hombre protector, proveedor y que se encargue, que me haga la vida más fácil. Los hombres lo hacemos. Normalmente. Siempre lo hacemos, güey. O sea, siempre. Incluso por la morra incorrecta, incluso por la morra, aunque no te interese lo más mínimo, como quieras estés ahí, güey. Haciendo, simpiando o lo que sea. Ah, güey. Te digo, estos morros son una, ¿cómo se dice joke? Perdóneme. Son una broma, güey.
feel like a man is someone that can help me figure out problems or help me through my day if, I'm ever feeling that I get stuck. So just someone that can help me a little bit.
Why are men defined by their role while women are defined by their existence?
I think women are also defined by their role. It depends on who you ask. There's a lot of societal pressure, especially now in the day and age of social media. I myself often find comparing myself to others on social media. So I think it goes both ways. It just depends on who you ask.
women introduce themselves to me, they'll say hi and we'll talk about it. And then it's like, oh, are you a mom? Or what do you do for your job? And so it's like, what is your role? Not just merely existing. So I think we get a lot of that too.
Do you think that men get joy and gratitude out of serving women even if women don't reciprocate?
Oh, I think it depends on the reason that they're doing it.
A lot of men that I meet in my life, and maybe it's like a demographic thing, but I think men get satisfaction by like serving a woman and like leading a woman, and it just really depends on how they're raised though.
Isn't that the
No tenemos satisfacción por servirle a una mujer. Tenemos satisfacción cuando una mujer responde a ese servicio. Lady, por favor. Claro que te sientes bien al servirle a tu mujer, al estar ahí al pendiente, hacer, porque es normal para los hombres, como le dije anteriormente. Es normal, te sientes bien, pero no es una gran satisfacción decir, oh, déjame, le doy todo lo que quiera a la vieja, no, güey, menos ahora que ya sabemos cómo funciona el pedo. No, no es una satisfacción servirle a una mujer, es una verdadera satisfacción ver cómo ella reacciona positivamente a lo que hacemos por ella. Eso es una satisfacción. Porque te das cuenta de que a lo mejor no es la indicada, ¿no? Pero por lo menos va por un buen camino. Por lo menos está haciendo un buen trabajo con ella. Digo.
definition of a simp?
You're right. I mean, the definition of a simp is like really like serving, like bowing down to your wife. But I think like masculinity, it goes both ways. However, like it still goes both ways. Like women can still serve men as well. But I think like a masculine man is comfortable in his own skin to lead a woman.
Isn't that the definition of a simp?
Maybe, but we like simps.
Well, I don't know what a simp is.
Would men still serve women if they knew they would never get that reciprocation?
Would they steal or should they steal?
What do you think?
Oh my God.
Well, they should steal.
I hope.
Good. O sea, no, es que definitivamente quieren que estés a sus pies, bro. Ahora esta morrilla dice, oh, we love simps. Pues claro, güey, ¿quién no, güey? Son los que dejan la feria, hasta yo los quiero. Ya no les cuento por qué, pero bueno, ese es otro tema aparte. Un experimento que hice en Facebook. Pero bueno, esto es otra cosa, ¿no? En YouTube es diferente. Fíjate, estas morras están dispuestas a lo que sea por la atención de los vatos, güey. No les importa absolutamente nada pasar por encima de quien sea. La verdad, pasar por encima de quien sea por tal de cumplir sus caprichos, sus necesidades y todo. Pero bueno, tú deberías estar interesado en ella a pesar de que ella se comporte como se comporte, ¿no? No importa, según ellas.
I hope so. I think so.
Do you believe it's a man's duty to respect a woman regardless of how she treats him in return?
Yes, I think that's the right thing to do.
Well, I mean, unless you're beating his ass, then probably not. But if you just drink a little too much and get a little crazy, there's no reason he should be mad at you because you're just having fun. And he needs to get a better personality.
Would men still serve women if they knew they would never get that reciprocation?
No.
Do you believe it's a man's duty to respect a woman regardless of how she treats him in return?
No.
No, I wouldn't do that based on gender. I think that respect is earned regardless of your gender.
How can a man respect women without losing self-respect in the process?
I don't think you lose respect by respecting women. I think a man that respects a woman is more respectable.
What is the difference between a show horse and a plow horse?
Well, a show horse is like me.
Show horse can be a performance horse. Plow horse is like a working ranch farm horse.
Why does being physically stronger assign men the role of a plow horse while women are show horses on display?
Women are supposed to be praised and beautiful, and men are supposed to bring home the money.
A show horse is designed to be beautiful and pretty. A plow horse is a stockier build. That's where you're going to run into your drafts. They're comfortable, they're fun, they're cool little gentle giants, but at the end of the day, their job is to pull and push heavy objects, so they're going to have a bigger frame.
Fíjate, lo que me sorprende aquí es que el algoritmo de YouTube no te permite hacer comparaciones, ¿no? No sé a qué se deba la comparación que hizo este vato. A los hombres no nos permiten hacer comparaciones, pero estoy haciendo una comparación importante, interesante. Pero como lo están respondiendo ellas, por eso no hay problemas. Ahí sí no hay problemas. Pero cuando lo responde uno, sí hay problemas. Fíjate, están comparando a los hombres con caballos de arado y a las mujeres con caballos de exhibición. ¿Y por qué los hombres tienen que ser un caballo de arado, o sea, de trabajo, y la mujer un caballo de exhibición? Y ya están dando la respuesta. Como ya están dando la respuesta, no hay ningún problema. Pero sí, prácticamente así es como nos ven. Como caballos de arado y ellas se sienten caballos de exhibición. Chinga su madre el algoritmo.
Why does being physically stronger assign men the role of a plow horse while women are show horses on display?
I don't think that women are show horses on display. I do like the idea of a man being a plow horse. I think that's quite funny. But women can be strong too. As a matter of fact, I lift 3 days a week at least, and it comes in handy working on a ranch. You have to be able to do things yourself as well, and I don't think it makes a man a workhorse, but I've seen some pretty guys too, so men can be show horses too, I suppose.
Does society shame men more for being strong and masculine, or does it shame men more for being weak?
It shames men more for being weak.
Definitely weak.
Weak.
Why do you feel that way?
I think we prefer stronger men. I don't know.
Why do people think that if you're not this macho alpha male, that means you want to put on a dress and wear makeup?
I personally don't think that. I think other people might think that because there's this air of like toughness that represents toughness, and that you somehow have to be more resilient that way.
Society really, really pushes men to be extremely macho. And that's not necessarily, it can also be like in a toxic way.
Some of the ones I know are very scrawny, short guys that don't look very hyper masculine. Some of them are very pretty too, some of them aren't. But to me, they're hyper masculine in the sense that they are the provider. They care about their woman, and their wives are absolutely gorgeous. So you can still get a beautiful woman as long as you're that man.
Like a man should still pursue and lead and like provide for a woman emotionally, not just financially, emotionally. And that's when a man is safe and secure in his own skin. However, I don't necessarily think like society thinks that if they're not necessarily there yet, they need to put on a dress and they're like a little B word.
Can someone be masculine but not a man, or be a man but not masculine?
Depending on your definition of masculinity, yes.
So why is masculinity even applied to men in the first place?
I think gender constructs and what makes us comfortable as a society, not that it makes it right.
I think there's different levels of how masculine a man can be, but that doesn't not make him a man.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Why is there so much confusion about what a woman is, but everyone seems to know what a real man is?
Because you're asking the women about who a real man is.
Again, I think like cultural constructs of men needing to provide or needing
Lady, pues por eso tú deberías de responder. Por eso tú precisamente, tú eres la que deberías de responder qué es una mujer. Porque todos se confunden cuando les preguntan qué es una mujer. Oh my God.
to be in the position of provision.
When you ask a woman what she wants in a man, she's going to define that traditional role, I believe, most of the time. Do we want the show horse or do we want the plow horse? I mean, there's, of course, at least a little bit of truth in the fact that we do kind of want to show horse too. There's nothing that breaks my heart more than seeing a beautiful woman, and I've seen it here at the NFR. Beautiful woman walking around, dressed to the nines, makeup, hair done, on point. And then her man's walking around in gym clothes. So when you ask a woman what she defines as a man, you're going to get a little bit more of an accurate representation versus if you ask anybody else about what defines a woman, you're going to get 1,000,001 questions and answers all in the same statement.
Why can a
Pero
woman
te
be with
preguntas también por qué esos vatos que no se arreglan cuando su morra está bien arreglada y salen, te preguntas por qué siguen con ellos entonces. ¿Por qué no le hacen caso, güey? O sea, si tú te pones a escucharlas y a tratar de complacerlas, incluso en la vestimenta, en lo que te tienes que vestir para darles placer, para darles gusto a ellas, de que, hey, vístete bien y que no sé qué, güey, ¿por qué? Yo me quiero ir en pants, me voy en pants, güey. O sea, y más en el gabacho, güey. Neta, en el gabacho no hay ningún problema que te vayas a los lugares como te quieras ir. Hay obviamente ciertas restricciones, ¿no? Pero mientras tú muestres los billetes, güey, nadie te va a negar el acceso a ningún lado. Es solamente el estatus, entre comillas. Pero créeme, hay gente tan rica que tiene demasiado dinero que no importa cómo se vistan, bro. Incluso huelen, güey. No necesitan vestirse bien. Huelen a billetes, huelen rico, güey. Entonces, fíjate, esto es importante, esto es interesante porque las morras quieren que tú prácticamente les hagas caso en todo, hasta en tu vestimenta. ¿Qué pasa con esos hombres que les hacen caso? ¿Qué pasa con esos hombres que les escogen la ropa? ¿No? Que las mujeres son las que escogen la ropa de los vatos. Güey, los dejan. ¿Por qué crees que ella sigue con él? Se está quejando de él. Oh, esta mujer se viste bien elegante y su hombre y su esposo con un jersey de los Yankees. ¿Por qué sigues con él? Si te da vergüenza, déjalo. El billetito es el que manda, mi reina.
whatever she wants, but a man is clearly defined?
I would argue that it also is that way for women because a lot of times it's you have to either be a mother or in the workforce, that you're not allowed to have crossover.
What constitutes a weak man versus a strong man?
I think a strong man is someone who can show up confidently as himself and answers to himself. And a weak man is someone who feels like they have to put other people down or treat people poorly to compensate for their own issues.
Why don't we have those same stipulations for women? Does a woman have to be a feminist or masculine to be considered strong?
No, I don't think that they do.
It could be mentally strong or physically strong. Even myself, I like to get pretty and dress up, but I also like to go rope and go weld and do masculine things. That doesn't make me more masculine than other girls, or even when I get dressed up more feminine than other girls. That's just who I am, and I think people need to be true to who they are and stick to it, and just, like I said, treat people the way you'd want to be treated.
Why don't women shame each other for being weak the same way that men shame each other for being weak?
I think women shame each other for being weak. They just do it in a more backhanded, mean way.
I mean, I think if you just go on social media, how girls compare themselves to each other and tear each other down, I think it's pretty equal, yeah.
Why is it when we talk about women's issues, it's considered the war on women, but when we talk about men's issues, it's considered the war on masculinity?
Because I would argue maybe the men that are struggling with that war the most are having a hard time defining their own masculinity for themselves.
Maybe it's just a social media thing, but guys are getting away from their traditional roles. Back even with my father and seeing him as growing up, he always made sure that my mom knew that if she wanted to work, she could work. If she wanted to stay at home and be a stay-at-home mom, which she was, she had that opportunity presented to her as well. Now, with the economy doing what it's doing, it's very hard to see a man that can step into that role completely and provide for not just himself and the household, but also a partner and children.
Why don't we consider it a war on men any more than we consider it a war on femininity?
I don't know. That's a good question.
What does masculinity look like if you're not religious, conservative, or traditional?
I think it's showing up as yourself confidently and not waiting for society to tell you who to be or how to treat women or how to love yourself exactly as you were made.
What's the difference between a feminist defining a real man versus the masculinity movement defining a real man?
A feminist defining a man, I don't think either are okay.
Well, what gives either one the right to define manhood?
I don't think either have the right to define manhood.
Why don't we allow men to be defined in their own right?
I think men should be defining themselves. And I think even like subconsciously adhering to gender constructs or what society thinks or tells them what masculinity is, that's undoing to themselves.
When it comes to relationships, men are expected to protect and provide. If men should protect because they're physically stronger, why shouldn't the woman pay the bills? Why should the man be assigned both duties when women are capable of at least being a provider?
Well, because we have to take care of those damn kids. And then we have to wash those clothes. And then we have to cook those dinners. And then we have to wash all those dirty everything. And we're tired of it.
Okay, so I think that if you're both working, because I work and my boyfriend works, and I think that could be 50-50, and I'm okay with that. But let's say we have babies and I want to be a stay-at-home wife, then he'll take on that role and I'll nurture, I'll take care of the house, I'll make sure there's meals when he comes home from work. So I think it's a 50-50 equal effort.
If men are
Protégenla a toda costa, esa mujer. Al menos tiene la idea, güey. Como decimos aquí, pues no es la indicada, a lo mejor no es el unicornio, pero tiene una idea, güey. O sea, te lo estoy diciendo clarito, ¿no? Si trabajamos, si yo trabajo y mi novia trabaja, creo que estoy de acuerdo en irnos 50-50. Hasta ese punto, güey, bien, porque de ahí de entrada, muchas viejas, tú las ves ahí en TikTok. No importa que yo sea una mujer independiente y fuerte, él como quiera debe de proveerme. No, güey, pues ya desde ahí dices, nah, qué hueva, güey. Lidiar con esa mentalidad ya es de hueva. Entonces, como tienen el concepto definido ahí en ese aspecto, dices, bueno, al menos, ¿no? Al menos podemos hablar. Y luego toda ella sola se pone en la situación en la cual dice, bueno, si yo voy a estar en la casa cuidando a los niños, esa va a ser mi 50. Mientras tú sales a trabajar y a proveernos. Ese va a ser tu 50. Uy, perfecto, bro. Como les digo, no es la mujer perfecta, no es la mujer correcta, ideal, a lo mejor va a tener sus problemas, lo que tú quieras, pero tiene la idea, cabrón. Por eso les digo, no hay feminidad, hay muchos problemas. Hay feminidad, todo se soluciona muy bien. Es cuestión de que ellas quieran, pero bueno.
expected to risk their lives, why can't women risk their paychecks?
Because we don't make as much as them sometimes. And even if we do, our money is our money and their money is our money.
I think women are capable of doing both. And I think like in a relationship, it should be what's harmonious for your family or works best for your family and not because of what culture's dictating.
Do you believe that men are natural protectors or is that learned behavior?
I think it's natural instinct.
It's something that you're taught growing up. I feel like if, like old school values, for example, like men were always taught that you should walk on the outside of the sidewalk, you should open the door. And I feel like men that were taught that when they're younger are now better protectors than men that weren't.
I think it's learned behavior, and it's also like, what do you feel you need to be protected from or what you need to be protecting?
How can men be natural protectors if men are the very thing that women need protection from?
You don't need protection from all men, just some.
I don't know that I would personally like look to a man to be protecting me. I'd want to learn to protect myself first.
But wouldn't that mean that like men are more likely to be protectors than be predators?
Well, there's a lot of different. This world is a dark place and has become a very dark place. There's a lot of good men out there and there's a lot of good women out there, but you need protection from both.
Estas morras, qué pedo, güey. Responde nomás porque sí, responde cualquier cosa que se les venga a la mente.
think it's learned behavior. A lot of the men that I've dated or run into, the ones that grow up in households without a positive male influence, whether it be the uncle, the dad, older brother, or even a neighbor or friend, when they don't have that positive male influence in their household growing up, I've seen them, I call it female behavior, which is awful. But guys tend to act more like women when they're surrounded by
Sola, güey.
women. And I think it's a learned behavior with those traditional roles. The guys that are often the ones that go, oh no, we're going 50-50. Or I expect you to provide for the household while also cooking and cleaning and being my partner. Those are the ones that oftentimes grow up with a single mom. And it breaks my heart that they don't have that positive male influence to look up to.
And lastly, if conservatives hold freedom in the highest regard, why do men have a duty attached to them in the first place?
Because I don't think they realize that it's even attached to them. I don't think it's a conscious awareness.
Do you think that things would change if they were aware of that?
Yeah, and I think if they started to look inward and were empowered culturally to look inward and to define themselves and define their own masculinity, that the world would be a better place for it.
Bueno, no me extraña porque pues, estas morras andan solas ahí en una convención, ¿no? En un evento. Digo, que la mayoría andan solas. A lo mejor pueden tener a la pareja a un lado, pero pues, da igual. Normalmente las entrevistas no se las hacemos a las personas con pareja porque muchas veces no quieren, ¿no? El vato no se deja y no, por eso les digo, por eso puedo asegurar que están solas. Pero bueno, es precisamente la razón por la cual están solas, güey. O por la cual van solas a este tipo de eventos. Porque, güey, ¿quién chingados va a aguantar esa actitud, no? Ese comportamiento. Te digo. Bueno, señor, deja en los comentarios qué opinan al respecto y pues bueno, nos vemos en la próxima. Chiaito.